excellent day for an exorcism.
Welcome to Just Another Horror Podcast.
I'm John. Fuck capitalism!
I'm Lindsay, trying to write horror novels because I was a weird kid. I'm the whole world is a urinal.
Fuck the prime time, bitch!
Hello, and welcome to Just Another Horror Podcast. I am John.
I'm Lindsay. I'm Em.
And today we are reviewing the movie Winchester from 2018. Em, this was your pick.
Yes.
I gotta say, when I heard what it was about, I was really excited. Is that why you picked it?
Yeah, because I've kind of heard these things about this crazy lady that built this crazy house because she felt guilty about, you know, her company's guns killing all these people, and it had Helen Mirren in it. So I was like, you can't lose.
Right? Like, just the idea of it sounds awesome, and Helen Mirren sounds awesome, but before we get too far ahead of ourselves, if you want to get a hold of us, facebook.com/justanotherhorrorpodcast. We are on YouTube, Spotify, Podbean, and Apple Podcast. Rate, review, and subscribe.
Or we gonna sue your balls to the wall.
Or you can get a hold of us
On Twitter, @justhorrorpod.
And Instagram, Just a Horror Pod.
Alright, how about a plot synopsis, Lindsay?
Ensconced in her sprawling San Jose, California mansion, eccentric firearm heiress Sarah Winchester, Dame Helen Mirren, believes she is haunted by the souls of people killed by the Winchester repeating rifle.
Yeah, and I remember hearing about this, and she would build... This is a real place. She
Yeah.
would build rooms that just went nowhere, staircases that went nowhere, which they didn't show any of those. I was really
you would
hoping
think
for the
they would have
crazy
shown more
staircases.
of that stuff.
Well, they
but-
did show the staircase that just stopped at a ceiling.
Oh, it stopped at the... I was thinking ones that just, like, went up and just, like, didn't attach to anything.
Oh, no, they
Oh.
attach, they just don't lead to anywhere.
Because I really like those stories about the staircases in the middle of the forest.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh boy, in a house? Wow! No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I almost went to the Winchester house years ago when my mom and I went to San Francisco, and my cousin that lived in San Jose at the time was going to take us there, but we kind of ran out of time with all the other stuff we were doing. But I think that would be cool to see, for sure.
So this movie started out creepy enough. I thought it was. I even messaged you. I'm like, I'm kind of creeped out right now. Because Henry is walking, he's this little boy,
Right.
and he's walking around in the dark at night, and his mom's trying to find him, and he has a sack over his head, and he's like, he's coming for us, and I'm like, ooh, who's coming? It now cuts to Dr. Price, who is a womanizer, and he's a bit of a, what do they call it, the soldier's disease, where he's...
I don't know if I'd call him a womanizer.
Well, at the beginning of the movie, I thought he was, and I'm like,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was like-
just because there was a woman there.
3.
3?
3.
What do you mean 3?
When the guy shows up to offer him the job, he's saying goodbye to all these women as they're walking out the
I thought
door.
it was just one.
No, he had multiple.
Oh,
He did a magic trick for one,
Yeah.
where what he was
I
saying,
thought that was all the same woman.
walking out the door 3 times.
Well, shit. I only saw her walk out once.
You didn't see the other 2? Oh my goodness.
Oops.
5 minutes in, and Em was not paying attention to her own movie.
I know they were on laudanum.
Right,
That was
yeah.
pretty cool.
Yep. So he does a magic trick where he talks about the mind making up its own realities, and
Fear is only in the
fears.
mind.
And I was really cool with where he was going with it. I didn't know it was a magic trick. I'm like, this guy's pretty cool. And once I found out that it was a magic trick. So, what's going on is the Winchester mansion is owned by
Sarah Winchester.
Sarah Winchester, and it was inherited by her.
Right. And it didn't start out as a mansion. It was just an 8-story house.
Right.
And then she just kept adding on to it, and then it was 7 stories.
And they don't explain right away why she's doing that. They just say she's obviously crazy,
Right.
but we need an actual diagnosis.
Yeah, and the construction just never stops, and it goes on day and night.
Yeah, it never ends. So, the guy who was sent to ask Dr. Price to do this evaluation is basically telling him, you need to make sure that this goes our way.
Yeah,
Right,
like
he's-
they'll pay more for
he's
the
a-
right diagnosis.
Right, he's a lawyer for the Winchester company.
I mean, he's basically saying whatever it is that you owe, we'll double it. So you'll pay your debts off and get some money out of this. So at first he's not on board, but yeah, he's on board. Because we wouldn't have a movie if he wasn't on board. So,
Did we say this is in 1906, by the way?
Oh, no.
I don't think we mentioned.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. So like we said earlier, this is somewhat grounded in reality.
Partially,
I
yeah.
don't know anything about this particular incident with a doctor. I don't know if that
Yeah, I was
happened.
wondering, did that happen? Did a doctor come to diagnose her?
Pretty much everything I read, almost 100% refutes everything in this movie and all of like the rumors and all of the lore and everything, which I was really pretty disappointed about.
Right, yeah.
Because I read up on her, on Sarah Winchester herself, and she inherited, when her husband died, she inherited something in the realm of like $6 billion today. What would be like something like that today, and then also was getting like over $7,000 a year off of stocks or whatever, which was equivalent to, you know, a ton more money back then. Also her like mother, father-in-law, her husband, and her daughter like all died within like 2 years of each other.
Oh, shit.
So what I really think is this was a woman who was lonely and had just an amount of money that she could
Didn't know
do
what to
whatever
do with.
she
Yeah.
wanted.
Right. And she was having so much grief, and maybe that was part of her way of dealing with it.
Possibly, yeah. Let me find this.
Did she actually
So-
believe that there were ghosts in the house, though?
There have been interviews with her staff, with her family, and like this is saying, Winchester staff who spent every day with her stated she's had no interest in seances, no record of them being held in the house.
So there was never a medium that she talked to then?
I think she did, possibly, but that's not even actually confirmed. But in that era, it was very common for rich people to talk to, that was kind of like their entertainment a little bit, was to talk to like mediums and stuff like that.
And do you know, did she really feel guilty about the Winchester stuff?
Not that anybody is on the record or
Okay.
officially saying.
And like she wasn't allowing any guns in the home either until she ordered all those guns in, of course. But is that real? Did she really not allow guns in the house?
That I don't know about. Okay, so like this is saying Winchester's companion of many years, Miss Henrietta Seaver, states Winchester had no superstitious beliefs. Winchester's relatives, employees, and gardeners never made claims that she was superstitious, guilt-ridden, or crazed. All of her employees were named as beneficiaries in her will. Let me find the one. It actually seems like she was like really smart. Like she did have like that garden room, and she built it so that the floor actually had an irrigation system in it that watered plants in the garden room and then also ran out and watered the garden outside of the room too. Like it actually just sounds like she was kind of experimental and smart.
I wondered about those things that they were using to talk from room to room.
Yeah, that
If
was
they
interesting.
actually use those, or if like that was part of like a spook tactic for the movie.
Yeah, I
I
wonder
think
if
there
they were
was
real or
something
not.
like that because I remember seeing a picture of the.
Shouldn't even be considered other than using the same names. Like
Inspired by
anything.
No.
I remember hearing this story, and I remember hearing the story and thinking it was really neat, but didn't think that like you could really make a movie about somebody just building a house.
Yeah, I mean, unless you totally make up all
Unless
this other
you
stuff.
changed everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
I am so sorry. Oh, it was actually, she did have a niece named Marion, but it was actually another niece named Daisy that lived with her. There's so much that's like just not even
At all accurate.
So just what I'm thinking about, they actually, people that work in, so they do tours and stuff of the house, right?
yeah.
So people that worked there actually said they felt really guilty because they were supposed to be telling people all these like, you know, like
spooky stories?
yeah,
about
like
it?
stories and lore and all that kind of stuff. And they were like, and I feel like we're just lying. Like
Okay,
it's,
yeah.
Yeah. And you're perpetuating it, too. Like, now this thing exists.
So it's not really supposed to be haunted? Because people think of it as, like, one of the most haunted houses in America, right?
I mean...
They probably think of it based on the stories, though.
This is the intercom thing, which it's not tubes like they had.
Okay, yeah.
But
all right.
That's that. One of the people that worked was a guide, and she said, I feel so torn because I have to tell people untruths every time I go through the house and have to talk about 13s and kooky things. My heart breaks a little for Sarah. I have to bite my tongue every time I hear a guest say, oh, what a nutcase.
So then, like, basically all of the lore about this place is false, then.
Oh, man.
Did she really nail doors shut with 13 nails? Like...
I don't know.
Wow, okay.
So it's interesting that this movie took place in 1906, and it was all, like, destroyed by the spirits and stuff like that. So there was actually an earthquake, the San Francisco earthquake.
Yes. And that's what was going on there when everything was shaking and...
All of the house's oddities have simple explanations. The barred windows were previously exterior windows that were blocked off when new additions were put on. The doors and windows that opened to nothing were actually from the 1906 earthquake, that the balconies that used to be in front of the doors and stuff came off or were destroyed. The small steps, like the stairway that had the really small steps, were because of Winchester's declining health. Trapdoors were built in a greenhouse room where excess water could run and be piped to an outdoor garden. That's the one I was talking about. And the damage from after the damage from the earthquake, she actually didn't rebuild the house. She was done after that. She actually had another house in California she lived in.
Okay. Yeah, I saw something different that said that, like, a lot of the construction was because of the earthquake, like, after the earthquake, so that must have been false then.
Oh, the bell tower was used to call workmen and serve as a fire alarm, not to summon spirits. According to Joe Nickel, claims that local residents heard ghostly music coming from the house are explained by the fact that Winchester often played the pump organ in the grand ballroom when she was unable to sleep. Winchester claims that Winchester held parties for spirits in her home that featured lavish dishes served on gold plates, kept in a safe, were fanciful and unsubstantiated. After her death, when the safe was opened, no gold plates were found, only personal mementos and a lock of her baby's hair. So that was a real thing. Claims that Winchester was racked with guilt. Probably untrue, since in the 1800s, Winchester Repeating Arms Company was seen as a success and weapons were viewed as a necessity for survival. Not the way they are today.
Yeah, there was a message in this that I don't think was a really big message in 1906.
Right, yeah.
So that didn't feel right at all.
Oh, the number 13. She did have a fascination with the number 13.
Oh, okay.
But it wasn't... I don't think they were, like, doors were closed shut and stuff like that. Nightly seances in the blue bedroom. There was a blue bedroom, but it was actually the gardener's bedroom. No evidence the house is haunted. Alleged whispering sounds can be imagined due to the wind. So, common for large, rambling, and drafty old houses to have temperature variations, house settling, exterior temperature damage, So, it's kind of... I'm not saying there's nothing there, you know what I mean? Because you never know. Yeah. There could be anything
and a
anywhere.
house that old, a lot of the time they are haunted.
Yeah. I just don't like the whole, she's a single old woman who's doing something different, you know what I mean?
Right.
No matter what it is. So obviously she's just batshit crazy,
Well, that was their explanation for every single thing
Yeah.
back then. They're crazy, either lock them up or medicate them, or
Right.
drive a stake through their eyeball.
Yeah, or do electroshock therapy,
Oh,
crazy
right.
stuff.
Lobotomies. Yeah.
And that's kind of what Dr. Price is like in this movie. He's the kind of guy who would probably medicate these people very
Right,
fast.
yeah.
Even though it's clear the first time he talks to Sarah, she is of sound mind.
Yeah.
She's not crazy. Like, she does little weird things, but she's not crazy.
Yeah.
So... Okay, so now that we all know that this movie has no historical backing
Right.
whatsoever.
I mean, there was damage to the house in 1906. It did have tons of crazy rooms and weird
Right,
features
yeah.
and stuff like that. But other than that, yeah.
Yeah, it was mostly all made up.
So
we have to look at this as a movie on its own.
Yeah.
Right,
With
yeah.
ideas that were made on their own.
Yeah.
And they're not good. So Dr. Price goes to the house and meets with Marion, who is Sarah's daughter. Correct? Niece. Okay. Sarah's niece. And Marion is not happy that he's here because she knows that the whole reason that he's here is to get this property taken off of her aunt, who she says is brilliant and not crazy.
And then she lets him know that Sarah is actually the one that chose him to come there.
Right.
And he didn't know that.
For a reason.
Oh, right. I forgot about that, too.
So they all go in and have dinner. Henry is a little bit of a... He's upset. Henry's upset. And he's acting up. And it turns out it's because his dad died, and that's the entire reason that they're there. Mm-hmm. So Sarah comes in and sits at the dinner table. And then... Okay, you guys are going to have to follow me through on the progression of the movie as it goes.
I hate when you do that.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, especially on one where we didn't pay full attention.
All right, hang on a second. I will pull it up. I'll pull it up.
I feel like when that happened, you're like, go ahead. And we're just like, okay, so,
That's what I do. I just don't like to
he
hear myself
went
do it.
upstairs to the room, right? And then, like...
Well, I do remember her niece notices that he had been drinking or something, and she's like, well, she'll notice it too. Like, her sense of smell is as keen as mine.
There are very strict rules that Sarah has for this house. No drinking, no firearms until later. And there's one more, I can't remember what it is. Oh, no leaving or going to where her quarters are.
Right, yeah.
So as soon as they tell him that, I'm like, oh, he's going to go.
Well, yeah.
Duh. But the thing with him is he doesn't even wait like a minute. Like, he doesn't even, like, think about it and then go back to his room. No, he's like, I'm going! Just a total dick the entire time he's there. He sees a ghost at some point, the first time. I can't remember where he sees the first ghost.
It's when he was...
He's spying
on
Sarah.
He had taken the laudanum... That's what it's called, right?
Laudanum.
Laudanum, yeah. And he was like, he kept moving the mirror back and forth, and you knew, obviously, because it kept showing that chair. So they did change it a little bit. Like, when you turned the mirror, you saw a face there, and then you saw somebody in the chair. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, it was so predictable.
Yeah, you're waiting for it because... I like it when movies will set that up and not pay it off.
Yeah.
Because that's way
right, yeah.
Like,
and then do something that's actually unexpected.
Yeah.
And I don't mind a jump scare in a movie if it actually works, but these jump scares don't make you jump. They don't scare you.
These are the jump scares that are just frustrating because not only does something pop out in front of you, but they make a noise that is not related to what's happening at all. It's like, or something like that. Like, if somebody falls over in front of you or jumps out in front of you, they don't go,
right.
To me, okay, real quick, I don't know if we went on jump scare rants before on here, but very quickly, to me, a jump scare is the equivalent of going up behind someone in the theater and popping a balloon behind their head. Yeah, they're going to jump, but they're not going to turn around and be like, that was so cool. They're going to be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Mm-hmm. And it can turn a movie real quick and turn viewers on a movie real quick.
I feel like there are times where it can work though, but not whatsoever in this movie.
Exorcist 3 nails it. There's the scene with the nurse coming out, like it just has this long hallway shot. Have you ever seen it?
No.
Okay. So it has this long hallway shot and this nurse keeps moving in and out of these rooms. And then it makes it very clear when she goes into one of the rooms that there's nothing there when she shuts the door. Walks away from the door and this thing follows her right behind her.
Okay.
Woo! That was fantastic. And it didn't go...
Right, yeah.
I actually think I like it when there's scenes like that when there's not the music or like the sudden noise or whatever. Like in Hereditary, whenever you just see Toni Collette up in the corner.
Yeah.
Way
that's
scarier.
what haunts
but
me
there's
to
no
this
noise.
day. Like, I'll walk through my house in the darkness and I'm like, oh my gosh, I just think of her up in the corner.
I think the noise, like the sudden noise, like it just kind of, I don't know.
It's annoying. And it takes you out of the movie.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just me. I don't know, but...
And I didn't find, like, these ghosts to be very scary either.
They just kind of look like zombies.
Yeah, it was almost like, dressed up for Halloween kind of stuff, Like, it just didn't feel real or scary to me.
Yeah.
So the next day, he blames what he saw in the mirror on his drugs.
Right.
So the next day...
Oh, and when the first day he's there, he has his first encounter with Ben Black, whatever his last name is.
Oh, I missed that.
Oh, yeah.
He was...
Because I wasn't paying attention
Benjamin
for it.
Joseph.
Yeah.
Block.
Yeah, when Marion says, something, she's a brilliant woman and she needs to be respected and da-da-da-da, and Dr. Price looks over and he's standing there and he kind of rolls his eyes at him, and then he, looks back, I kind of got the idea, he looked like a butler in the house.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I kind of got the idea he was kind of like, how dare you roll your eyes like that? But
Yeah.
I don't know. And then I didn't understand how, he was dressed and looked like a normal person, but then later in the movie he looks like a zombie. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what
Because
the rules
the
are.
audience is stupid and they wouldn't understand if a guy was walking around in a tuxedo. That's not a ghost. He's wearing regular clothes.
I mean, I knew something was going to
Yeah.
come back to him because he had a very different look about him.
Yeah.
Just the way
I
his
feel like
face
it
was.
really wasn't surprising that he ended up being a ghost at all. Like, they wanted it to be more surprising, but it wasn't.
When he started getting involved, that's when I was like, oh, he's a ghost. Okay.
Yeah.
But, I missed it at the beginning. I totally missed that. Now that you mention it, yeah. He's probably popping in and out all through the movie. Maybe we should go back and check it out again. Stay tuned. Find out. So, the next day, he starts his assessment. And she's basically asking him not to lie. And do you have the soldier syndrome? Do you take drugs? And he's like, no. And she's like, stop taking the drugs. So, he doesn't really glean much from the first day, really. Just that she's, really insistent that, I'm not crazy and I'm responsible for a lot of people's deaths.
Yeah, she feels very guilty.
Is this when she mentions the shadows, or is it the next time they sit down together?
I don't remember.
Shadows?
That are ghosts. She mentions...
No, I don't think she talks about... She only talks about that after he actually saw her kind of being possessed and drawing the room that night, I think.
Okay. So...
She says in that conversation, though, that this is the house that spirits built. She's talking about... I have that right underneath there where she asks him if he's an abuser of medication, and he says no, so I'm assuming that was right then.
Okay.
So, that night, is that when he's, spying on her and runs away and goes into a closet and sees something in there?
Yeah, it's after that, because he's lying to her during this conversation, and then in the next conversation, when she asks him if he was out of his room that night, he tells the truth, and he says he was, and she's happy that he's actually telling the truth now.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, the first night he doesn't go out on the roof and through the window or anything, he just wanders around, goes into a room, sees another ghost, and then thinks to himself, it's because of my withdrawal from my medicine, right?
Right, yeah.
And he was seeing... When he was back in his house, he was seeing things. He saw blood running down the paper.
Right,
down a
yeah, that
painting.
deer painting.
Yeah. I did not like when he heard some voices or whatever in that intercom system, and then he was he put his ear next to it, and then that finger came out.
Yeah, that was...
What the hell was that?
I didn't like that.
Yeah, me
Gross.
neither. It was just...
Is when people
Well, I
do
just
stuff
thought
like
it
that,
was
is that okay, that'd be better explanation than what I was going to say, which is that the people who write this are like, when I'm a ghost, I'm going to touch
Yeah,
people
maybe.
all the time.
I feel like they just thought this would be some scary imagery, and just let's stick a finger through
Gross,
this.
not scary.
Yeah.
Weird and
I think
gross.
they're it's things that they're trying to convince you that there really are ghosts in the house.
Right.
Which, why else would we be watching this movie if there weren't ghosts in the house?
I would love it if this movie advertised it as that, and we sat down and he went in and he talked to her, and she was like, whoop, 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 and he's like, crazy, and then the movie just ends. Okay, so another night that he's spying on her. I'm having a tough time keeping track here. There's a night where he's spying on her, and a night where Henry jumps off the roof. There's
Yeah, was
two
Henry
different
jumping
nights.
off the roof first, I think, and he caught him?
Yes. Okay, so he's just wandering around outside looking at different rooms. Notices Henry on the roof. And Henry jumps off the roof, and he manages to catch him. So, because of that, they're now locked in their rooms. But he goes out the next night through a window and works his way over to her, who is being possessed by ghosts to draw
The house.
the different rooms that she needs to build. Yeah.
They each,
They channel
through her,
Yeah.
draw the room that they died in.
Yeah.
What if they died outside?
Oh, yeah.
I would think a lot of the Confederate soldiers she's talking about probably
Would
died
have
outside, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
I have no idea. They didn't think that through, and they didn't think you'd notice, but we watch harder on this show.
Right. I don't know. I was just like, did everybody die in a room? A really nice room?
Right, yeah.
So Sarah's also keeping records of everybody who's been killed by Winchester rifles.
Right.
All of them. And believes that that's who these ghosts are. They come to her because they think she's responsible for this. Or at least that her family is responsible for this.
Right.
And then it's revealed slowly, but you get the idea of what happened, that he misdiagnosed his wife, said she was crazy, and so she shot him and then killed herself. And he died, for a few minutes because the bullet must have hit his heart or something. And he kept the bullet, and I think she says refurbished it into, I don't remember what. I just remember her saying refurbished like 2 or 3
it just
times.
looks like a bullet
Regular
again,
bullet.
you know. He
Yeah.
just refurbished it to make it look like new, kind of, and engraved it.
Engraved. Yeah, I forget what it said. Together forever?
Yeah, something like that at least, yeah.
And then he went out and got 3 hookers.
What was Ruby doing that was so crazy?
I don't think it really showed, did it?
No, I think she heard voices. She heard voices. And he diagnosed it as crazy. And she's like, but I really hear them. And he's like, well, I can't remember what he diagnosed it as. Did it say in here? Delusional, just delusional.
Can we talk about hysteria for a minute?
Sure.
Yeah.
Do you know the whole thing?
People need to know this.
Did
so.
you ever see the movie Hysteria? So there's a movie with Maggie Gyllenhaal actually about.
I don't think
About
I saw
hysteria.
it. I'll have to...
So hysteria used to be an actual medical term.
Yeah.
A woman would have hysteria and be hysterical. Okay. And this is women who are moody and what's the word?
Uncontrollable.
Uncontrollable. That's a good word. Yeah.
And it was only women. Men didn't get hysteria.
Only women, right? And the doctors of the time, this is like late 1800s, I'm going to say, doctors of the time thought that it must be because they had a uterus. You can, and the tie-in is that like when you have your uterus taken out, it's called a hysterectomy. So that's where the term hysteria comes from.
Oh, interesting. I did not know that.
Right. So, so now we know that it was really just women were bored and unfulfilled and pissed off and
understandably so.
You know
what
all
some,
of that
you know what
stuff.
some of the cures for hysteria were? Oh, you're getting there. Okay.
I'm getting there. So the cure. So obviously it had something to do with their reproductive system. But if you would stimulate the female organs, then that would help relax them. So doctors would just jerk off women. Like they would have regular appointments. That's how the vibrator was invented, because
Do it at home. Do it yourself.
No, it was invented by doctors.
Oh.
So because they would get like hand cramps and stuff.
Wow, that is insane.
There's an actual movie about it, and it's fucking
I'm gonna
hilarious.
have to watch that movie.
Were the women of the time like oh, feeling a little moody today, gotta go to the doctor.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Yep.
Was the movie a comedy or?
It's kind of this. I'm not saying it's the best movie in the world, but it does like just show kind of how it was at the time. And there's also stuff in it about like how hygiene is starting to come about and washing hands and stuff like that. But it's a little bit comedic and a little bit drama, and there's also like a love story. It's kind of an odd movie, but it is interesting that
I'm
it
gonna
just
have to check it out. And I like Maggie Gyllenhaal. She chooses some interesting roles.
yeah, it's just interesting that it kind of goes over the history of that term hysteria.
Yeah.
My favorite all-time misunderstanding of things that are sexual are the cornflakes. Or is it the cornflakes?
yeah.
Yeah.
Which also ties in with circumcision.
Oh, it does.
What is cornflakes stuff?
Oh my goodness.
So back in the day,
It's incredible.
they would circumcise baby boys because they didn't want them to be
Jerking off all the time.
It like desensitized them.
Right.
They wanted to, stave off masturbation. And then, go ahead.
Well, then they got this brilliant idea that if they ate some nasty, pasty cereal, they wouldn't want to masturbate then either. So Kellogg's made this stuff called, they made cornflakes with the sole intent to stop people from masturbating. and it did not work. And
That makes no sense.
He also had like a
he had a, what was that place called? They made a movie about
sanatorium,
Yeah.
or something like that.
Wellness. I can't remember what it was.
Oh, there's a movie with Matthew Broderick and
Yeah.
somebody else called Wellville.
Wellville. That's it. The Road to Wellville.
Road to Wellville. That's right. Weird movie.
People are just banging all over the place.
But-
in the sanatorium because they're eating cornflakes and they're just banging all over the freaking sanatorium.
They're not like, I don't know what it was, like the movement of extreme religion and stuff. Like you were not supposed to masturbate, and there were people that were very much against it. And one of them was the Kellogg,
The guy who made Kellogg.
How do you think that the cereal was going to make people stop masturbating?
He was obsessed with good digestion. So
he thought if you had good digestion.
I don't know. I can't remember all the details.
There was something about it tasting completely bland that was also part of it.
Right.
Because he thought anything that didn't taste bland would stimulate you.
Oh, okay.
weird.
Two movies that are better than this movie.
I mean, it's crazy how circumcision is still such a thing, too. And it's pretty much just America. Like, America and then, Jewish people, it was always a thing. But,
changing why they're doing it.
Yeah.
But they never... The reason is never... Don't do it. Don't do it. You're causing, trauma to your baby.
Mm-hmm. And they don't get to make this decision on if they want it done to themselves or not. Like, if they want to when they get older, sure.
Yeah, and once they figure that out, that you'll never get them again.
Yeah.
No one will ever say, please cut that piece of my penis off.
That happened in Broad City. Remember what's his name? He got circumcised.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And he was like, I can't be stimulated right now because he had stitches and stuff.
I love that show.
Who was that? Not Jorge. What was his name?
What is his name? I can't look him up.
This is important. We must...
I know his name because he's so adorable. I love him. I love his character.
know. I like him too.
It was a J name, but I don't remember what it was. Wasn't it Jaime?
Jaime.
Oh,
yep,
yeah.
That's right.
Oh, good. I don't have to wait for this one. Okay.
I think.
It was Jaime, I think. Okie dokie. Where are we in this movie?
Oh, yeah.
Talking about a lot more interesting things.
Yes.
Well, the wife is dead. That's right. His wife is dead. So, Sarah also explains, or somebody explains, I don't know if it's a construction person or Sarah, because I don't remember, but somebody tells Eric, that's Dr. Price, everybody. Somebody tells him that she nails all the doors shut with 13 nails.
I think she tells
She
him.
might tell him.
Yeah, she told him that.
It's not a dangerous, bad number. It's a good number.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah.
Something like if she would try to apologize to them, and if they wouldn't
Accept it
or whatever, then she would lock them in the room until
Right.
until they were fine, which
Which
seems
is
like an
fucked up.
odd.
Yeah,
It's so
because most
fucked up.
of them would respond favorably to all this stuff,
If you
and then
knew
if
the
they
alternative,
didn't, then they were gonna be possessing people and doing bad stuff. So she had to lock them in there until.
So weird.
I took it as outrageous and awful. She knows these ghosts are coming. She's like, you're either gonna apologize or you're staying here forever. And the ghosts, I'm sure some of them were like, I guess, okay, you're forgiven, and they leave. Other ones are like, fuck you, and then other ones would be like, I don't really forgive her, but I don't want to stay here.
Right.
And I really want to know why this guy, this Corporal Ben, is so special.
Such a strong force.
He's the strongest of all the people that have ever been killed by a Winchester. What?
I don't know.
I don't get it. Everyone, I would think everyone who was mad that their relative was killed by a gun and thinks that guns should be outlawed would be equally mad about it. Or equally powerful? Is it because he shot all these people up at the bank?
Yeah, because there were 15 people, right? It was a mass shooting.
Right, 15 people. It wasn't the bank, it was the Winchester office.
Right, yeah. He went to
okay,
kill
okay.
the people
Maybe
that
because
created the weapons.
When he was alive, he was so pissed off at Winchester that he actually went and did that.
Yeah, because he thought that the people that created the weapons were just as guilty as the people who shot the guns.
Mm-hmm.
It's an interesting thought for a different movie.
Right.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
There's all kinds of little nuggets in here that would be cool if fleshed out better. But with this one, it just doesn't make sense at all. He just goes in, murders these people, and then you're supposed to feel sorry for him when he gets killed by the cops. Who everything that happens in that little flashback scene is confusing.
Yeah.
Because the cops put 30 bullets in him, so I don't like the cops. But he killed 15 people, so I don't like him. But I don't like guns, so I don't like any of the people. But then you're like, oh, well, they weren't bad people, really. So I don't like this scene at all. I don't understand Ben, and I think I got ahead of us. I took us ahead of ourselves a little bit here, didn't I? Or are we close to where
I don't know if we missed too much.
Yeah.
He's just seeing ghosts. Then Henry gets possessed. Grabs a...
Right, well, he's been possessed a few times, but this seems to be the worst of it, because he tries to kill his aunt.
Well, before that, there weren't any guns in the house. And
Oh,
now there
yeah.
are.
Oh, right, okay.
So does she know which of these ghosts are asking her to build which of these rooms? And if so, why did she have that ghost come into her house?
I think they just show up, right?
Oh, okay.
And she has to build the houses for them. Like, she gets possessed by them, kind of, and she just knows to...
But you can draw that
I think she's not sure. I think, like, she's drawing the rooms, like, kind of being possessed, which is weird, like, how every ghost would possess her and draw a room.
Right, yeah.
And then she would go to her records and try and figure out who exactly it was and the circumstances and all that kind of
that
stuff.
makes total sense. Oh, okay, this movie gets one more point.
One more? No, I'm kidding.
Did they say the name? They said the name of the movie like 50 times.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Winchester?
you're stuck now. You have to give it a point.
I mean, it's the name of
You
like,
can't
the main
get
character.
out of it. Come on.
I think it's a 10 then.
Everything sucked about it, but they did keep reminding us when we were watching.
They said Winchester like 50 times. It was an outstanding movie.
Okay, so yeah, the room that he was killed in was a room full of guns because he was killed at the armory, or whatever you want to call that thing.
It was the Winchester offices, and he was killed in the display room. So it had every kind of gun that they made.
Mm-hmm, every model.
Yep. But I think when she's lucid and she realizes what she's about to do, she should just go, I think this isn't going to work. I'm not building a room with 25,000 guns in it.
Right, yeah.
Just, no.
I mean, really, probably the scariest part in the movie is when Henry becomes possessed and has the gun and he's going after her.
Mm-hmm. It's terrifying. He's beating her like...
Yeah, because he runs out of bullets, so he just starts beating her with the gun.
Man, I was a little bit like, when she was on the stairs, right, and he's pointing the gun, and you're total silence.
Yeah.
That had me on the edge of my seat. But
Right, and then she lets him know exactly where she's at.
Yeah.
I don't understand how he didn't hit her. He was aiming it right at
I know,
her,
I don't know
2
how
feet
either.
away.
And I'm like, why are you talking to him? Like, stay silent and try to make sure he doesn't know where you're at. He's obviously going after you.
I think they were trying to say, she's brave and she wants to confront these ghosts and help them,
guess, yeah.
Fight through their stuff or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I guess she is calling him Henry, so even though she knows he's possessed, she's trying to, get into Henry because he's
his
still
attention.
there somewhere.
With what you were saying, there's a limit, and the limit is when someone pulls a gun on you, you can probably stop.
Yeah.
That's why at the end when she was like, we're gonna rebuild, and I'm like, fucking idiot!
Right.
Let's get some more in here. Like, a simple solution to this, if this was a concern of yours, would be to literally order every gun that has ever been made and have them destroyed at your house. No one else is going to die.
Alright, she's rich enough, she could probably
She could do
Right,
that
she
forever.
probably could,
She would
yeah.
it would be a cycle, because she would get the money from the guns, because they're being sold, then buy the guns once they were made again, and just
Right,
continue this
yeah.
forever.
I
But
guess we
it's-
didn't mention how, she was trying to, move the Winchester brand away from guns. She was,
Roller skates.
having roller skates,
Yeah.
yeah.
I like that.
Me too. Do you know if that was a real thing? Did she do that?
That I don't know. I
I have no idea.
I'd have to look that up, but my internet's
No working
not working.
phones.
Hold on a second here. I will look.
Just Google, did Winchester make roller skates?
Yeah.
God, I can't.
I mean, it makes sense, because back then they were made out of metal, so that would have just been a metal.
Right,
They would have
yeah.
had all the right materials.
That's the number one thing when you type in "did Winchester." Yes, according to two sources. The fishing reels and roller skates produced in 1919. So she also had fishing reels that she made.
Wait, in 1919?
Mm-hmm.
She died. She died in
The Winchester brand produced a handful of distinctly non-firearm related products, such as pocket knives, hand tools, and home appliances. The fishing reels and roller skates were produced in 1919.
I want to say she died in 1919, so it wouldn't have been in 1906.
I mean, this movie's not accurate at all, so...
She died in 1922.
22? Okay.
Oh, she did get to see the roller skates before she died.
Yes.
And right before she died, someone slipped on their roller skates and hit their head off the pavement. And she's like, no, not again!
And I guess she did leave the house to her niece, Marion, but Marion turned around and sold it within, like,
what
3
am I
months.
supposed to do with this fucking thing?
And then they started doing tours, like,
Yeah.
less than a year later.
She probably knew she could make a lot more money by doing that.
Mm-hmm. Well, she didn't do the tours. She just sold the house.
Oh, okay.
And then this couple, I can't remember their name, this couple bought it and just started doing the tours, like, immediately. And then it's still in that same family, actually, that owns it.
So, they put Henry and Marion in a room, right? And they're like, you're not going to the hospital. Sarah locks them in there. Like, Dr. Price wants to take them to the hospital. He's had enough of this shit. And after he calls for somebody to come and take them to the hospital, he starts talking to Corporal Ben, who goes, "Blah!" disappears. So Sarah's like, oh, you saw him, and explains to him, like, this guy, his brother was killed in the Civil War, and he blamed the guns, because they had...
There's 2 brothers.
Oh, 2 brothers were killed in the Civil War. They had muskets, and these guns were way better, so they were just getting slaughtered out there. He blamed them, went to the...
Winchester offices.
Thank you. Is that a stink bug?
It was
Sounded like
something that flew through here pretty quick.
I heard it. I didn't see it.
I heard it hit a wall and hit the ground, so
Yeah,
it was definitely a stink bug.
That's what they do. They're such adorable little idiots.
One was on here the other day, and I was like, I don't think you want that little guy. So inside and shoot him off.
Can you smell stink bugs?
Mm-hmm. Can you?
No, I can't. And he can't either. 15% of people cannot smell stink bugs.
Wow, interesting.
I learned that. Because everybody would talk, like, I used to work at this place, every once in a while a stink bug would get in there, and people would say how bad it smelled, and I was like,
I only
No
smell
idea.
them if somebody squishes them. I don't smell them, like, just flying around, but if somebody squishes one, then I smell it.
I don't even smell it.
When I wanted to get rid of them, I used to vacuum them up because they would eject the scent, and then the scent would go into the vacuum, but I don't
I would
do
feel
that
bad
anymore.
doing that.
Yeah, I don't do that anymore.
I mean, I don't even like to kill insects as it is. I just, like, I would rather, like, let them
I'll drop
outside.
a boot on a motherfucking wasp. I don't care.
Well,
I
wasps
don't care.
are different.
They're not insects. They're other things.
But you put everything else outside.
I do. I carry them. I saw the cutest spider yesterday on the window outside. It was black, and it had these white dots on its butt. And it was actually trying to put a web up, and Garrett and I were watching it, and we're like, it's not going to work. He's not going to be able to put a web up there, so... We took a piece of paper and we took him over to the grass.
Aw,
So
that's so nice.
I mean, he was cute.
I actually think jumping spiders are really adorable. Like, they have the big eyes. Like,
Yeah.
they look expressive.
I follow a lady on Facebook who breeds them.
Wow.
And they are so cute.
She breeds them?
But at the
do you
same time,
breed a
spiders in
I don't
general
wanna
are,
know.
like, my one big phobia. Like, I wish I wasn't afraid of them, but they just creep me out.
I'm fine with pretty much anything unless it's in my... And it might crawl in my mouth while I'm sleeping.
Yeah, that scares... See,
Oh,
I
Twin
actually
Peaks
cover
style.
my ears when I sleep because I'm like, the
Yeah.
only holes it could possibly get into would be, like, my nostrils then, because I know I sleep with my mouth shut.
Because don't they say on average, the average person swallows like 6 spiders?
I've
Yeah.
heard
Every year.
7.
If you're
but
not trying
well,
hard
I've
enough.
heard in your life. I don't know about... But also, I've heard that it's only a myth, too.
know.
So,
I
because,
believe
like,
it, though.
I know that I would wake up for sure. I'm a very light sleeper. I don't even sleep with my mouth open, I know. So, like, I would definitely wake up if something started crawling up my nose.
I would like to think that, but I mean, like, I've been sitting, like, I'll watch like a show, I have a Kindle, and like a bug will just, like, or spider or something will just, like, very quietly, you know what I mean? And I'm like, that could have been on me! And I'm like,
I mean, I'm okay with bugs normally, but spiders, it's just those.
I gotta say, this movie is... You can
Oh,
tell
wow.
it's good.
The movie.
You can tell it's good
yeah.
because we just don't want
No,
to.
we talk about everything
all this
but this
in.
movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
bleeding?
Am I? Well, no, what happened?
No, your teeth.
My teeth?
Yes.
Yeah.
What happened?
I don't know.
He just started randomly
Or is
bleeding.
it sauce? It could be sauce. Get a paper towel.
Put it back into my mouth. That's a good idea. It's sauce. Oh my god, I was panicking.
You just smiled and I saw it looked like you had blood all over your teeth.
Now I feel like I need to go brush my teeth. I think I am after this episode. Oh boy.
God. He was like, did a ghost punch him?
I've been talking shit on this movie, and you're like,
Yeah, one of the guys.
all right.
That was Corporal Ben there.
No. Okay. So at some point, an earthquake comes and separates everybody, right?
Yeah, in the movie they don't probably think it's an earthquake. They probably think it's like
spirits
ghost
and
stuff going
Well,
on.
Ben's spirit starts babbling on and on about something, and then that's when that happens. So you might think that, but yeah,
They don't say anything about an earthquake in the movie, do they?
I feel like they
No.
don't realize that that's what's going on there. Like, it's supposed to be caused by the ghost.
Yeah. Who are all the ghosts that end up... So Eric and Sarah are fighting off Ben or whatever, and then, like, who are all the ones that come in for Henry and Marion? Who are
I
they?
don't know, just other
all
ones that
the
were in the
doors
house.
got opened. All of the things
Yeah,
fell
when
off.
the earthquake was going on,
Oh.
all the nails came out of the door and all the ghosts were let loose.
Oh. Why were they going after them instead of helping Ben? And I don't know.
Maybe they all just have their own motivations. They aren't, like, trying to help the other ghosts, you know?
I guess.
I don't know.
I just didn't understand what was really
Well-
going on. Did you?
I mean, not really.
That was where I was like, on my
Yeah,
phone.
I was like...
These doors
And
start
this is
coming
supposed
off.
to
He's
be
trying
like
to
the
put
climax
nails
of the
in,
movie, and we're all bored
yeah.
on our phones.
Well, when I found out who the big baddie was, I was like, I don't care about this guy. And he doesn't scare me. He's
Yeah.
boring. Who cares? So even with other ghosts running around, it's like, so he goes to the garden house, and he and his wife had a garden house, right?
Yeah.
That's I think why. He
So
goes
the
there.
garden house was really it for him, I think, even though he was
That's why it
still
was
alive
built.
For him
now.
or her? I didn't know.
Well, oh yeah, maybe
I think he
for...
I
built
thought she was locked in there.
Right.
Okay.
She built it for her because that's probably the thing
Yeah.
that because she died in there.
Right.
So it makes
But
total
so
sense.
did he, temporarily.
Right.
He mentions that like 35 times. I think.
Well, yeah.
You know, I died once.
Yeah.
So he has a discussion with
that's
his...
why Sarah wanted to hire him specifically.
Right,
Right.
That's why he has a
Because
connection
he
to
was
the-
quote unquote killed by
Yes.
a Winchester gun.
in one of the rooms that is in her house.
Right.
So, yeah, it makes total sense.
Wouldn't he when he got there? Wouldn't he have seen like there's a garden room and
I
be
know,
like,
and it looks so similar to the one we had.
that's where my wife
Yeah.
was killed.
He does keep trying to get in there. Like, they keep telling him, you can't go in there. No, that's not your room. But, like, he wants to go in. I at the time, because now it's all starting to make sense because we're talking about it. But at the time, I was like, why the hell does he want to go in there so bad?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, now we know.
Yep, that's why. So his wife tells him, I'm good. You're fine. Just go fix this problem so we can get this movie over with already. And he's like, all right, I'm kind of bored too. I'll go.
Is that what she said?
Yeah. Verbatim.
Wait.
No, she's just like, I'm good. She didn't say I'm good either, but I'm
No,
paraphrasing.
she was like, you said I was crazy. Like,
That was the flashback.
I remember
What?
also feeling
The entire flashback plays out in there. Her ghost redoes the entire thing.
it's like they're reenacting
Okay.
what
Yeah.
was really said back then.
But
Okay.
her ghost tells him she's okay.
and you can tell the difference between the reenactment and the ghost because the ghost has crazy hair.
Mm-hmm.
And the
Thank
reenactment,
you.
she
I am dumb and wouldn't
that right?
have known that, director.
Apparently I am dumb because I was like, how did she get her hair nice?
I also, especially in this scene, but also throughout the movie, I found the dialogue kind of unnatural. Did you think?
Stilted a little
Yeah.
bit too. Yeah. People don't talk like that to each other.
It was 1906, you know.
I know, but still.
No, I don't-
I mean, because anytime I watch old-timey movies, you know, it's like, it seems
In
not
real
like
life-
today's dialogue, of course.
Have
but
you
this
ever
was-
said like a sentence to somebody and then like a couple days later something happens and you look at them and you repeat that sentence back to them? Like they say it to you and you're like, oh yeah, yeah. Because that happens in movies and TV shows
all the time?
all the goddamn time. It happened in this movie. I can't remember what the line even was, but she says something to him and then he's like, later he's like, oh, and she's like,
Right, yeah.
that never ever happens.
I agree.
I mean, sometimes I like to bring it around in the same conversation, like especially if
Sure.
I'm trying to make fun of somebody for what they said earlier.
I do it.
but-
I do it in this show to make like a transition, but it usually crashes and burns.
But yeah.
So, at first they think the way to kill Ben, they have him in the room with the guns, and he's afraid of something. They think it's the gun that killed him, or the gun he used to kill other people. One of the two. Then it turns out that's not what it is. It's the bullet that guy's carrying around. Why?
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 I have no idea.
Why?
Like, that made no sense. Like, why would he care about that bullet?
No idea.
Had nothing to do with him.
No idea.
No, I thought maybe you guys would, but nope. Okay. And plus, I feel like that's really shitty because that's like a personal memento to
Right,
him, and now he
yeah.
has to destroy it to get rid of some fucking ghost.
Yeah.
I'd be like, I'm gonna write you down as crazy. I'm gonna go. Bye. Money, 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 money. No,
I mean,
I
I
would
think
shoot
it was
the
good
damn
that he
ghost. I don't
didn't
know why
say
I'm
she
saying
was
that.
crazy because, I mean,
She wasn't crazy. She was not crazy.
And he knew she wasn't, and he didn't want to just take advantage of the extra money to say a person was crazy when they weren't.
He could have just written the letter and left, though. I mean, he could, like, it.
Right, exactly. He could have said she's not crazy and then still left.
Yeah. Why did Marion and Henry, why were they staying in this house? Like, the first time Henry gets possessed, I think, is your cue
Right,
to pack the
yeah.
bags and head out.
Not in a horror movie. It's not.
Yeah.
You need about 5 or 6 more things. And then you find out that it doesn't matter if you leave, it'll follow you. And you're like,
Yeah.
damn it.
Really, though?
Yeah.
But they're in that house. They're locked in rooms. They're, whatever. I don't.
You know what
Yeah, get out of there, sage yourself.
Do some cleansing.
Okay, so Eric shoots Ben with his bullet that killed him, which kills the ghost. So where does the dead ghost go when they die?
Yeah, how do you kill a ghost with a bullet?
Right, yeah.
You don't. You put it in an ecto-containment unit, and that's the only way. And it's... never mind. Anyway. So now we get like a whole bunch of really dumb... I don't like movies that do this. They don't know how to end it, so they just have everybody talk to each other one more time. It's so dumb. We find out Sarah's going to be building onto the house some more.
Which she doesn't.
Yeah, exactly. What is... Marion just needs to, I don't know, kiss him on the side of the mouth and then leave.
Is that what she did?
Yeah. And I'm like, they're going to kiss. They're going to
I
kiss.
remember.
And then they just kind of peck. And I'm like, oh, thank God. Because that's what, at the end of every movie, you got the guy and the girl, and you're like, well, I guess we should just
Whoa.
make out a little bit before you go.
They weren't.
No,
No,
I don't
they
think there was
hated
anything
each other.
going
They
on
really
between
didn't
them.
like each other.
Okay.
That's why I was like, don't do that. So,
Too bad the audience won't see my hand move.
yeah. So the worst thing about this is that they go back inside and show one of the nails like moving out.
Yeah.
I'm like, you think you're gonna make a sequel? You're gonna make part 2?
Right.
Silly.
I was really disappointed. Like he shot Ben, and I was like, "That's it? He could have just shot him like this whole
Yeah, that's
time.
it.
You could have just shot him like
With that bullet.
whatever."
Well, Em, you seem pretty enthusiastic about this movie. What did you give it?
I didn't give it anything yet. Oh God. Did I hate it as bad as the House of the Devil or whatever?
I like House of the Devil.
I know. That's why I'm looking at you.
know.
Like that's I think
Because you gave that a 1,
yes,
right?
that's the only movie I've ever given a 1.
Wow.
I mean, it was only PG-13. I could see how it would scare a 13-year-old.
Oh, that's a big part of it, I bet. Yeah, that makes sense now.
God, it was just really bad.
Would you recommend this to a horror fan?
No,
Okay.
no. I think what I thought about it was that it was predictable and yada yada, and you could have maybe had a good story with some parts of it, but it didn't work. And then like afterwards, finding out that it's based in absolutely no fact whatsoever, and it's just kind of like encouraging false information, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just want to hear that low, low, low number.
The hell, I'll give it a 1.
Yeah, there it is. It did say Winchester. So,
That's 1 for
yep.
one for saying the name of the movie. Which sucks, because Helen Mirren is great. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like I think the performances necessarily were horrible, but everything else was.
I can't remember who it was that said this, but there's some actor that takes, like, a ton of roles, and they say that, like, 90% of the stuff you do, you're just working. You only get, like, 10% of your movies that are even good. So, and you got to take advantage of those. So I feel like that's what Helen Mirren was doing. Just like, I got to work, man. I got to work. Nothing going on. So she took this. Yeah. And it's not like she did bad.
Well, no.
The reason I don't like the Razzies is because they judge, like, a performance of an actor or actress on the movie instead of the other way around.
Yeah.
So, I thought she was fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, for what she was given. This was a bad movie, though. Yeah. This, was boring, and I'm with you on the spreading false information. I don't like that at all. Like, I'm glad this thing bombed, and I'm glad nobody really paid attention to it. Mm-hmm. I wonder if the people who did pay attention to it were the ones who were, like, starting to perpetuate that rumor again. Because I had, like, without having seen or heard of this movie, I had heard of that before. Mm-hmm. And one.
Really?
One.
Oh, wow.
They did say the name of the movie. All right, Lindsay?
Yeah, this was definitely a case of where, like, I found the idea of the movie kind of intriguing, but then actually watching it, I did not like how it was executed at all. And, like, not every single thing was terrible, because there was not bad acting, of course. You know, like, Helen Mirren did a good job. It wasn't filmed badly, really. Mm-hmm. But the story was not good. I thought the dialogue seemed a lot of the time, like, unnatural. Mm-hmm. The jump scares weren't jumpy or scary. Like, it was just, like, a lot of the stuff seemed pointless. And like you were saying, like, it's giving a false idea of what really happened in the Winchester house and with Sarah Winchester and everything. So I'm gonna say 1.5. I'll give it that extra half.
Nice.
That was nice of you. We are only doing one more episode, and then we are going to have a month break. I probably should have brought that up before, but we'll be gone for... You won't hear from us again until at least July 12th. So, but shortly after that, if not by then. But we're going to take a month off because I'm building a house, and...
it's summertime.
Yeah, it's summertime, too, and we got lots of stuff we want to do. So, we're going to see The Grateful Dead in a couple days. That's not what this movie was. These were the Ungrateful Dead.
Oh my god.
Okay. Episode 50 coming up next week. Woot woot woot.
Yay.
You kept it and refurbished it.
Well, because it's a reminder of my past.
Instruments of death have a powerful connection to the afterlife.